So there we are. Welcome. I think you're all on, but just in case. So please share.
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes. You're kind of muted.
Let me just take this out. Hold on. I don't know. Is that any better without the headphones?
A little bit. You might need to bring your iPad a little closer.
Okay. I'm upstairs, so it's probably we're by a mountain, so the reception's terrible here. Okay, so I did want to ask, did you record a couple weeks ago? I could never bring it up if you did. I never really got to listen to your last session, live thingy.
Let me check and see. It should be on there.
Well, I didn't check this week, but I checked like the week you did it, so.
Yeah, I put it on there, but sometimes I think I put it on there. Maybe it's like an accidental 5-minute or 3-second recording instead of the actual recording. So I'll check the recording.
Just because that one sounded really good. I got to hear a little bit of it, but I had company that day. It was just crazy. So I didn't really get a chance to listen,
And that was the one 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Okay, I'll check and see and make sure it was on there. I'm pretty sure it's on there, but
I could be crazy. It's not the first time that I've missed something. So anyway,
well, me either. So
yeah, so I just want to hear your story. Now, I don't really have anything to report other than life's been pretty good, just because I haven't had to deal with anything, like you and your brother, how you handled that online. That was impressive, because I want to be there when that comes up, because it's so hard to stay in our place, but knowing that they're innocent, that they don't know what we know. It's just frustrating still, but I think I'm getting over it, where I don't care so much. I'm just like, it is what it is, and it's not my choice to make them go on the same journey I'm on, even though you may think it'd be better for them, it may not. So
yeah, and that's a struggle, is that it seems so obvious to us now.
Right.
When you wake up and you see it from a whole different view, it's like, duh.
Like, why can't I see it?
Yeah, it's like, why didn't I see it, first of all? And then you're like, why can't they see it? It's almost like, why can't you just take the blinders off? It's so obvious. And so that's why it gets so frustrating. But I will tell you what happened with my brother. I spoke with my mom, and she had talked with my brother. So a little bit of family gossip here, but all on record. But she talked with my brother, because she had read the whole thing. She didn't comment. And I know my mom is, kind of snooping on there. I'm aware of that. And so she had talked to him, and he said that after he had read the comments, that he just backed off, and because it started to make sense to him, and he realized that it is painful, and that the points that were being made were valid, and he could understand why it's hurtful that we can't go into the temple. Not that we want to go into the temple, but that basically the church had hijacked the wedding, and it was, pretty, it disturbed him. But the response that he chose to have to it, rather than stick up for people, was that he and his wife decided that they were going to take a sabbatical from social media, since it disturbed them so much.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to hear if you found a place.
Oh, I did.
Okay, good.
I did, and I'll share that story in a little bit. But yes, I did. So I thought that was another thing with that whole story, is that when we start to explain what it is that we are trying to make a point across, because, and I had this conversation with my sister-in-law yesterday too. They've been out for the same amount of time that I've been out, and anytime like she was over at her dad's place for Father's Day, and they were celebrating Father's Day, and they were talking about something at church, and she was making a positive comment about church, about some listening to primary program, and she was just participating in the conversation, not in any derogatory or judgmental way, but just as if, yeah, I understand what goes on at church, and yeah, oh, that's sweet, isn't that kind? And her dad gave her a nasty look and made some judgmental comment. And it's almost as if any comment she makes about the church is automatically seen as you're going to make a mean and nasty comment about the church. That
that's what they expect
see it in a negative light. And I've got my guard up, and don't you dare talk about our church now. Like anything that's going to come out of your mouth is going to be negative. And I had the same conversation with my mom. I was talking about some abuse that had happened in our ward when my dad was the bishop in our ward when I was growing up. And during that, I've now had some clients come to me that were my age, and there was a whole sex trafficking thing going on in that ward, right underneath my dad's nose. And,
oh my gosh, that's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, so I explained to my mom that I said, these devious people, that they're not necessarily associated with the church, but they use the church to hide. And they use the good name of good men to hide what they're doing. And they did it to Dad, and they do it behind my brothers. My brothers are both in high church positions and leadership positions. And my mom flew off the handle. How dare you talk about your brothers that way? They're good, honest men. And they would never condone anything like that.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
She didn't hear what I was saying, though.
Yeah, right, that's the thing.
She heard that I was now accusing my brothers and my dad of being of harboring bad men.
Right.
And so I had to explain it 3 times until she would hear what I was saying. I said, no, if Dad and Derek and my brothers knew that this was happening, I know they would stick up for the right. I know that they would be a voice for the innocent. I know they would. What I'm saying is they're hiding behind people like my dad and my brothers, because they too are priesthood leaders, because they too they're hiding behind the good name and the good people in the church to do the bad things that they're doing.
I just watched a documentary about the opiates and and how they hide them in the Book of Mormon. And
yes,
they're bishops, and they go to church every Sunday, but they do all this other stuff. I'm like, wow.
And so
yeah,
those conversations, they just have a hard time even having the conversation, because she's hearing that I'm accusing my brothers of harboring bad people, instead of hearing what I'm trying to say.
Or like we're saying, everybody is that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when she finally would listen, she agreed with me, and she goes, oh, that is a problem. And it's always just this big barrier of not really listening to what we're saying.
Well, I have one thing I do want to mention, because when you start talking about that, I watched Believer. I don't know if you watched that.
I haven't seen it. I don't have HBO, and this week everything's been disconnected.
I know. There we go. My daughter is just calling it, picked up on the phone. Anyway, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. I've watched it 2.5 times. It is so good. And it's just so, he's so kind. How, the guy from Imagine Dragons, I can't think of his name now. But you know what I'm talking about. When you get a chance, watch it, because my mom just cried. I mean, she thought, wow, why doesn't the church change? Why? They changed the blacks policy. It's like it really opened up her mind. because he pointed out all these things. So I'd be curious. Now, my mom's kind of a forward-thinking DVM, but and she's been away from the church for a few years because she's been home. So she's kind of, her mind's opened up because of my posts and some things I've had her watch where you start thinking differently. But I would just be interested in your take on it.
Oh, I'm excited. My brother recorded it, so I'm excited to get.
Yeah, you don't have to have HBO, but it's super, super good. So anyway.
Yeah, he recorded it, so I'm going to go watch it.
Very
Can't
good.
wait.
Okay. All right, I'll let you get someone else.
Anyone else have something they want to share?
I
Sharon?
think it's really interesting that your brother. Sorry, I'm sick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I sound like Michael Jackson. But I think it's interesting that I have to keep these in. I think it's interesting that your brother, in response to the, cognitive dissonance that he experienced, reading people's responses to your posts. I think it's so interesting that his response was to take a social media fast. Just, la, 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 you can't hear it. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So
Rather than say, oh, I see and I understand and that must be hurtful, it's like, oh, I need to step away from this. This is disturbing.
Right, exactly. So this past weekend I was in Idaho for a family reunion with my mom's family who are members. There's some that are not, some cousins that aren't active, but for the most part. So that was interesting. And I wore a Born Shoulder shirt. And it's interesting, I had a couple people, like visiting a cousin who was recently listed as a bishop, compliment me on my shirt, and I wondered what that meant. It's like, okay, whatever. But my niece's daughter was baptized, and that was pretty triggering, actually. Particularly because I think I might have mentioned this. I found out recently that my brother and his wife, the grandparents of the girl that was baptized, recently kind of had, so I guess they had in the past year or two, they had a couple of friends leave the church, and they started reading some of the apologetics and some of the history, and my brother got, apparently, this is from my sister-in-law, my brother got really upset, and it's like, why did they deserve a mission and all this stuff, and then it's like, well, I'm reading this and I feel bad, so this isn't the spirit, so they just kind of close that door and then double down, and all I could hear at the baptism, all I could hear through everything was just obedience, 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 obedience. I just wanted to run out of the room screaming. But fortunately, I had a friend that recently moved from basically Idaho, and he's missing his community here. And so I had invited him he's Mormon, but I know him from my yoga studio. So I had invited him to come up to the baptism and to come to the barbecue we had afterwards. So I had that distraction, which was really helpful. I just was like trying to be compassionate, to myself, and compassionate to everyone there, and respectful, but it wasn't very easy.
That's awesome. I know you're not feeling good, Sharon, but are you willing to dig a little bit about what triggered you?
Okay.
What do you think is that emotion in there?
Anger, frustration. Because in some ways I've moved on, but in some ways I'm still stuck in all that. I posted today on another blog about how things about God and how, I've figuratively in my mind killed the Mormon asshole God, but so much of that programming just still seems to, so much of that programming that I'm not enough, and it just leads me just to engage in so much self-judgment and self-shaming and self-beat up, and I think it just stems from that, from growing up in the church and the culture of my family, which was so influenced by the church.
Okay, so I know you know how to go inward. Is this anger at the self-judgment and self-shaming that's still going on? Is it directed at yourself or is it directed at the church? Does it feel like it's coming from the church or coming from you?
Self.
So what will it take to forgive yourself?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
So if you did know, what would it be?
If I did know, what would it be? I just have to start doing what I want to do, and I just have to start doing what I want to do. But I don't know. Just have to start doing what I want to do, but I don't trust myself that it will work. I don't trust the universe that it will work. I don't trust them enough that it will work.
Okay, so there's two. I don't trust myself that I can do it, or I don't trust that the universe will follow through for me. Which one? Both?
Both.
Okay, so the universe will follow through for everyone else except for me.
That sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah, because
God,
it
sounds
just
ridiculous.
makes you so special, huh?
I know. I'm so special.
And so it really is it's all about you. And so
Yeah.
so placing your hand over your heart and just repeat after me. Even though this attempt at forgiving myself
Even though this attempt at forgiving myself
might not even work,
might not even work,
I'm going to try it again.
I'm going to try it again.
Sharon, that's you. You talk to you.
Sharon, sorry. Sharon,
I
even though
forgive
this
you.
attempt, I forgive you.
I forgive you.
I forgive you, but I will keep forgiving you forever. If you fail 10,000 million times, I will always forgive you. You don't have to prove anything to me. You're worthy exactly as you are.
There you go.
Well, there's a little piece that still doesn't believe it. Of course.
I don't believe it because
I don't believe it because it's too good to be true.
it's too good to be
Too
true.
good to be true. Yeah, it's too good to be true. Reset,
And so
reset, reset, reset. Yeah,
it's too good to be true.
it's too good to be true.
So it probably isn't.
Yeah, it probably isn't.
How does that feel?
Wait, what's too good to be true?
So if it feels it's too good to be true, then think the thought it probably isn't.
It probably isn't.
How does that feel?
No, that's a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie.
It's a lie.
It's true.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be fully forgiven? So ask all you have to do is ask your higher self to keep reminding you what it feels like to be fully forgiven.
Fully forgiven. Okay.
And keep going there. And what else does it feel like to be fully forgiven and unconditionally loved?
It feels empowering and hopeful.
And what else? And what else? And what else? And just keep going to that place. In your meditation, just keep going to that place. Because whatever lie is imprinted on you that says that you're unforgivable, unredeemable,
Right.
limited, scarred, damaged, too much, you can't come back. You are lost cause. Whatever imprint is on there, it's not too heavy. It's not too big. It's not too much. And so you keep looking under it and just saying, okay, and what else does it feel like to be fully forgiven? Does it feel like you're moving under it?
I have these, I see my parents, fussing and judging, and because I'm not financially self-sufficient right now, I feel a lot of judgment about that. And the whole idea, and I worked on this so much, life is too hard, I'm not capable.
So I wanted to start with a meditation as we go in today that I think all of us, so if you have something that you want to share, you're definitely going to have time to share it. But I think like this is the time to move into a meditation that's going to shift us all into a whole different place. And I think it's going to deal with what you're working with, Sharon. So if you want to join me in this meditation, it's going to be kind of a culmination of everything that we've been learning about as far as programming, each of the chakras, the ideas about what we've been told about who we are, about who God is. And if you've done a meditation on an ego-based meditation about letting go of the ego, this is kind of similar to that. And as we do it, there's no way that I can erase what's been programmed into you against your will. So it's not like hypnosis, and it's not anything that's going to have magic power over you. So it's just an invitation to try it on for a minute and feel what it feels like to be in a place where we've kind of erased all the programming. It's like a chalkboard, and you've just taken it all off and started with a clean slate. It literally is the privilege of someone who has awoken out of a program, a rigid paradigm shift, to be able to erase it all. But you get to be the author of how you're going to reconstruct it. So as we do this meditation, it might feel kind of weird and like, I don't want to let go of that. Just try it on for a minute. And we're going to come back, and you get to be everything that you are right now. We're just going to try it on for a minute and kind of release all of our identity and erase it all and start fresh. So there's no danger in what we're going to just go into a meditation. And if anything, you're just going to feel relaxed and have a new perspective on life. So if you want to join me with this, go ahead and get in a comfortable place in your chair or your bed or your car. If you're in your car, I don't know where Kim and Janine and Jessica and Tammy are, because they're kind of blanked out. But Wherever you are, just kind of get comfortable and close your eyes. And I'm going to turn off my light so it's not blaring right in my face. And take a big deep breath in. And just start to listen to what's around you. And just notice if there's like a fan or a bird or the air conditioner or a car driving by or children. Start to listen to what's going on around you and become present to it. And then become aware of your breath. Just notice it. And observe your thoughts. What are you focused on? What thoughts keep coming through your mind? What thoughts have you thought about mostly today? Watch them without judging them. That's interesting. And just let it float away. Let the next thought come in. And don't even let it complete itself, and just let it float away without judgment. Just noticing. Becoming the observer of your thoughts without judgment. Are you wondering if you're doing it right? Are you a good enough observer of your thoughts? Notice if you're getting distracted. Notice the level of irritation you have at the distraction. And bring your awareness back to your breath. And take a big deep breath in and release. And practice breathing in for 4 and releasing for 4. And just doing that on your own. And notice how your thoughts went to your breath. And focus on your breath. Are you doing it right? Are you doing it good enough? Release the judgment. Allow your breath to be free to do as it wishes. And just breathe. And bring your consciousness to the center of your forehead, to the third eye, in between your brows. And hold. And observe the effort that you're making to hold your consciousness in the center of your brows. Notice the effort, the muscles that are being activated in your brain to hold your consciousness there in the center of your brows. Bring it back to the center of your brows. Notice if your head is making any adjustments to hold it there. These are new muscles activating new parts of your mind and your body and your brain to hold your consciousness in one place. And now bring that consciousness down into your heart center and imagine it resting right there in the center of your heart. As if you had a screen right there at the center of your heart that you could look onto the center of your heart. And notice the new muscles that are holding your consciousness at the center of your heart. And now bring your consciousness down, down, down to the base of your spine. And hold your consciousness deep down into the base of your spine. And notice the new muscles that it takes to hold your consciousness deep, deep down at the base of your spine. And now take your consciousness and travel even deeper, deeper down, down into the earth. Traveling down deep into the earth, into the core of the earth. Watch how your consciousness has the power to go deep, deep down into the earth. See the power and the effort it takes to hold it there. The muscles of the eyes, the muscles in the brain. Notice any light action going on. This is you activating parts of your inner world consciously, intentionally. Imagine saying to yourself, I am not my body. I am so much more than my body. I am not a woman. I'm so much more than a woman. I am not a mother. I'm so much more than a mother. I am experiencing motherhood. I'm experiencing womanhood. I'm not a Mormon. I was experiencing Mormonism. I'm not a wife. I'm so much more than a wife. I'm experiencing being in a relationship with another personality called husband. I'm so much more than the labels that have been placed on me and the meanings I have placed on the labels and all the things that I've been told I am and what all those things represent. Imagine moving beyond all of those labels and just being I am. I am love. I am allowed. I am free. I am unlimited. I am curious. I am accepting. I am learning. I am expanding. I am loving. I am one. And take a big deep breath in and release. And watch as your consciousness comes back through all the layers and the programming. It comes back into the body or the meat suit that we wear so that we can experience life through this program, through this experience, through these eyes, through this personality. The joy and the hardship, the lessons, the learning, the wisdom, all of it so that we can gain a higher understanding of love. Take another big deep breath in and release. And feel your toes, wiggle your toes if they're on the ground, feel the ground beneath you. Place your tongue at the roof of your mouth. Wiggle your hands. When you're ready, open your eyes. So please share with me what that experience was for you. What did you experience during that? Did you get insight or gather information? I want to know.
The I am is kind of interesting because today I was listening to Oprah's podcast again, and the new guy, it's just that I am just keeps coming back through so many things, and I learned that when you do the whatever,
The
basically saying I am, and that's God basically, and then the guy Oprah had on was saying that you need to tell yourself I am every day so that you can become that. So it's interesting that you brought in today.
Yeah, so you're in the flow.
Yeah.
When you start having like an experience where you have like 3 things happen, that's like their messages coming in that your soul is like, I want to get this part of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
So one thing that helped me understand that I think it was Wayne Dyer, I read or heard him a long, long time ago, that helped me. And I taught this in a class Sharon took a while back, that whenever you see something great in someone else and you begin to admire it, that greatness, you wouldn't be observing it with such admiration if it wasn't part of who you were too. And so you would say something, I am that, I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so you incorporate that. That's part of my identity too. But he took it a step further, and this is what has helped me through Faith Crisis. And it's kind of a piece to that. Even when you're in a situation where you're at a baptism and you're hearing the exclusivity and you're hearing doctrines that feel just and sticky and sick to you now. And that is, you still say the words, I am that, I am. I am also still, I have experienced at least judgment. I've experienced the exclusivity. I've experienced the superiority. I've experienced the arrogance. I've experienced the greed. I've experienced it. I've experienced all of those things. Because as we're growing and expanding, we're noticing what is not desirable and what we don't want anymore. I've experienced the feeling that I'm not good enough. I've experienced the feeling of being shunned and left outside. I've experienced the feeling of not being included. I've experienced the feeling of having so much contempt for myself that I can't function in this world and I can't experience joy. I've experienced all of those things to the level that I'm not willing to experience it anymore. And so when you see people in those states, you have a compassion for it rather than a contempt for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To where and when you say, I am that, I am, instead of look at that. When you say, look at that, it's a judgment. Like, look how she's being and I'm not. It's a judgment. That's making me sick. But it's also, when we can switch it around saying, I've experienced that. It's like, me too. I know where you're coming from. I've been that arrogant. I've been that exclusive. I've been that rude. I've been that insensitive. I understand you. I get you. And then I can forgive you. Then it kind of neutralizes it all so that you're not entangled with it anymore and you don't have all of the emotional junk going on. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Because when we step into that I am, it's like I'm big enough to handle all of this, the good and the bad. This idea that we can only be the light is not a reality.
Yeah.
It's not true. We have to be able to encompass all of it, the light and the dark, and to see all of it and not have contempt against the dark or fear against the dark. That fear against the dark actually keeps us from being able to function in life. It's because fear is darkness. That's the funny thing. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up, Gina. Anybody else during that meditation? How does it feel to let go of this idea that I'm a mother or I'm a woman or I'm a wife? Oh, it's like so much of our identity.
Yeah, when you said I'm a mother, how we're just, that's our primary focus is being a mom our whole lives. That's what we're taught, so hearing that, kind of made me think quite a bit. I do have a hard time, with my conscious to my spine. I don't know why I couldn't get it quite there. If I felt like it was in my gut more. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Just, when you said feel those muscles, those are new muscles that you're trying to work. Everything was going to my gut more. So I was really fighting that one there. I was really struggling with that.
That's a good observation. It sounds like you have a block in your second chakra. So okay. It's either creativity or sexuality or something.
Creativity. I'm not creative, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So opening, or at least you believe you're not creative.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So finding something creative to do, whether it's poetry or finger painting or dancing or just something spontaneous, and I think you've mentioned that spontaneity is the hard thing for you to.
Yeah, I'm a scheduler, so yes.
Yeah, jumping off that schedule and just doing something just for the heck of it, for no reason and no point and no value, might help you. And also, really, I know this sounds crazy, but for women, dancing really does open that second chakra. So, don't have to do it in front of anybody, but moving your hips and shifting all of that, especially after having kids, some of that just gets really rigid in there. So dancing and just moving the hips around physically will help open up the chakras too. I know it sounds weird, but if you can do twerking, private twerking.
Yeah. That's funny.
For me, it would look absolutely ridiculous, but who cares what it looks like? It's what it's doing for you that will help you to just kind of move it around and help the energy flow, and then breathe into it, and then try the meditation again and see if you don't get like a little bit deeper down into there.
Okay.
And also try the second chakra guided imagery.
Yeah.
And some of the positive affirmations for second chakra, if some of them really trigger you, just keep saying them and see if that doesn't help shift that too.
Okay.
So that's a good observation. And to what you were saying about the mother, being a mother, yeah, it's a huge identity. It's like, don't take that badge from me. Are you kidding? 5 children, that's my identity. I've raised 5 children, and if you take that from me, who am I?
Right.
I'm a mother in Zion. That was my purpose for existence. And then when you take that away from me, it doesn't mean that I don't love being a mother. It doesn't mean that I don't love my children. It doesn't mean that I didn't love, everything about being a mother, because I love being a mom. I still do. I love every stage of motherhood. I love every stage of my children. People ask me, what stage of childhood do you like? I'm like, I loved every one of them. And I still do.
I know, and I'm trying to explain this to my husband as well. I said, we talked about this several times over the past couple of years, that I'm more than a mother, and he doesn't understand. He thinks, you don't like being a mother? What's going on here? He doesn't quite understand, and it's just been that whole motherhood topic is a little bit difficult to bring up with my husband, because he doesn't quite understand why it's my identity is not just mom. I'm more than that, and I know that, but I guess we're so conditioned just to think that that's what we're here for. Can't get through that. So
it's going to be especially hard for people whose moms, that was their life, and that's what was modeled for them. My mom just gave up everything, and she was just a mom, and so it's hard for them to picture anything else.
Yeah.
Kim, I'm cracking up over here. I'm not able to turn on the audio with 2 crazy boys. So she's totally momming over there.
Nice.
So
she's gonna start working. Nice.
Yeah. But as we take off all the labels and we erase and smudge all of that out, we are far more than a mom.
It's funny because I started a class today for college, and we had to do an introduction about ourselves. And so I was typing things out, and I put, I'm Jill, and I'm a mom. That's the first thing. And then I'm thinking, what else am I? I like to, so that was just my first initial thing, saying I'm a mom. And yeah, although I love it, that's just not all me. I'm more than a mom. So, but I just find that ironic. That was the first thing I always put. I'm a mom. But
well,
anyway.
It's almost as if I don't put that as the first thing, then that means I don't like being a mom, or that there's, I must not love my kids, or because mom isn't the first thing I think of the minute I wake up in the morning, something's wrong with me, or I don't like being a mom. That something's wrong with me, or like my daughter she does not like being a mom. She's like, something's wrong with me. And she's still very active in church, and she has 2 kids, and she's like, I don't want any more kids. I really don't enjoy being a mom. And for her to say that was so hard. And I'm like, honey, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to have 5 and 6 children. 2 is enough. She goes, really? Like, yeah, it's okay. This doesn't have to be your life. I mean, love these children and give them what they need. But you don't have to, make your whole life about being just a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh. So Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Kim, you look like you have something to share over there.
No, I'm just trying to come out from, I just feel like I'm being resurrected today. Everybody looks so beautiful today. Can I just say that?
So do you. You have nice, cute, rosy cheeks.
Oh, yeah, that's rosacea. It's not on purpose.
Well, it looks healthy.
Did you find a place to live?
I did, yeah. I'll share that in a minute too. I know you guys are anxious to hear, but it's part of my story.
Okay.
Sharon, I wanted to share also, as I was, saying I'm a mother. I'm not a mother. I'm experiencing motherhood, and I'm not a wife. I'm experiencing being in a relationship with this personality of a husband. I'm thinking of Sharon the whole time, thinking how much emphasis the church puts on being a wife and a mother, and how exclusively yucky it must feel to be single in the church and never have those things. I mean, that alone has got to be such a heavy burden to bear, and to just feel, part of that I'm not good enough has got to be coming from that. Would you say?
I would say that. I experienced that after I became a widow, and everybody just looked at me so judgmentally, and I was just like, that was the beginning of the end for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like I looked around and I said, I just don't fit in here.
Yeah.
And now I'm grateful for that, because I went into full faith crisis, and I'm like, I want to be out of here now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that too, Sharon?
Did she hear you?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, probably. I haven't really acknowledged it. I mean, that's been my reality my whole life. So, I just really focused when I was inactive in my 30s, just because like life didn't go according to plan. My depression was so bad. I was just really pissed off at God. Then I came back around age 40, shortly before I met you, I think. And I just really focused on, serving, and I was never really looking for a husband. So, but the singles program completely sucks ass. I mean, there's nothing for the mid singles. We had no budget. I mean, it was laughable. It would have been laughable if it was so disgusting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could talk about that for a while, but I won't even bother. So I really felt like I did have a place in the church especially because I just got to know people, and I'm social, and I, gave from my heart, and I connected with people, and I made friends of all ages. And but yeah, probably deep down underneath there definitely is some stuff with that. Yeah. So
Thanks for sharing that.
I'm just so laughing at my voice. I just sound so ridiculous.
I think it sounds sexy, all kind of raspy in there.
Sounds sexy? I think I sound like Michael Jackson. I was at the family reunion, and we had the talent show, and I couldn't sing, and I just was talking, and I'm like, should I sound like Michael Jackson? I was like, hi, my name's Michael, and I was just laughing, and they were like, she's crazy, and I'm like, whatever.
Anybody else want to share what they experienced by letting go of all their identity, or what it feels like to shift from your third eye to watch your consciousness go through different parts of your body, or what their experience was during the meditation? Good. So what if the reason we came here is to experience life as a woman through this LDS experience, as a wife and a mother, or not, just to gain a deeper understanding of love? And this is just the way that we wanted to experience it. And when we can unravel and kind of just shake off all this fixed, rigid conditioning and programming of what the meaning we've put on our life, it makes us more malleable, more adaptable, more fluid. It doesn't have to be this way, this way, this way, this way. That's just the way we've been told it's supposed to be. That when we're more fluid, we can become more, when we're more of an observer, we can be present and watch things happen rather than insist that they have to be a certain way and get all crazy when it's not the way we think it's supposed to be. And that's when we get frustrated with what is instead of working with what is and observing what is, and what, instead of learning from what's happening with us, we get frustrated with what's happening with us and angry with what's happening with us. And when we can practice that, letting go of all the labels, letting go of our identity. See, when we had our faith crisis, I remember I said it's not just a faith crisis, it's an energy crisis, and it's also the identity crisis. Literally, it's an identity crisis. Yay! Because you're shaking off all of this identity that's been placed on you, so you can erase the whiteboard or chalkboard or whatever it is and create a whole new identity based on what you want to create, which is also considering what you've learned. What did you learn in your first life experience being a member of the church that you want to bring with you? And you're going to, when we did this in the grieving part, you can list, I love community. I love being able to participate in the difficulty of community. I love being able to support other people in their growth and development. I love being able to have a common, to have a common thread with the people that I associate with. Maybe you love to sing hymns together. You love the feeling of that. You love being able to participate in the raising of other people's children. And maybe you absolutely didn't like that, but you felt like you were compelled to into primary every time and going, I hate this. Other people love to work in primary. But some other things is I loved working. I loved serving. Serving made me feel something, connection with other people. I loved that we would be in a state of ritual together, that we were trying to access something good and higher, in a energy of benevolence, and something in a higher state of love and goodness. Those things, I love the principles of honesty, of integrity, of anything that you learned during church. Bring those with you. Those are the virtues that are going to sustain you, that there's never too much of those things. You could never have too much of those things. And then look at the things that you don't like, and because you're not under this authority that this is what you can like and this is what you can't like, you now get to choose, well, I don't like this. I don't like this idea that we have to do things this way and we have to dress this way in order to be okay, or this idea that there's something we have to do to be worthy in order to feel God's presence, or we have to get interviewed, or we have to answer to this or that. We get to choose, and we get to add that onto our new life, and we get to craft it the way that we want to, because we're adults. We literally get to choose our life. And so as you practice that, erasing your identity daily, it begins to expand your view, and it relaxes your need to judge others. And it allows us to be present and to be observing, to be observers rather than judgers. And it rather than narrating everything that's happening in life, we become observers and just be going, oh, wow, ooh, look at that, interesting. And we're in a state of wonder and curiosity rather than narrating everything. Because the narrator in your head that's saying, oh my gosh, look at that, she should be doing this and that. Oh, why is he doing this? He needs to be doing this. Look at that guy, what he's wearing. That narrator in your head is conditioned. It is that programmed self. It is the judger. It's the lower self. It's not your higher self. The narrator is not who you are. It's not your higher self. So when we become the observer of our mind, we also become aware of what it is we're focusing on. And if you have, is anybody familiar with Joe Dispenza? All right. Joe Dispenza is a prophet of our day. Joe Dispenza is the bomb. If I've learned anything, it's that I'm very balanced in science and spirituality. So some of my favorites are Greg Braden. I love everything Greg Braden. But Joe Dispenza is someone that you need to watch what he's doing. It sounds like he was raised in a very religious environment. He was a chiropractor, and then he started studying the mind and studying it so much that now he has written the book something about the placebo. He's written so many books. You have to look. I should have brought one of his books. Actually, I do have. Evolve Your Brain is one of his books. But now he does studies all over the world where he can change a person's sickness in an instant by helping them switch their thoughts, because he understands how our thoughts imprint on the earth, on the, what do you call it, the holographic universe that we're living on. Our thoughts imprint on it, and they create this body that we're in. And so he teaches people, not to go into too much detail into this, is a whole different course, but he teaches people how to shift their mind so that what's going on in their body shifts with it. And he has it calculated and he has it documented and measured. So it's not just this hocus pocus stuff. It is now science. And it's so fascinating. So Joe Dispenza, just amazing. You'll look on YouTube, anything that Joe has to say, it's got to perk your ears. It's just fascinating. But what he explains, and you'll hear this a lot on a lot of different law of attraction things, that what we focus on expands. When we are focused on the church, and when we're focused on the church's agenda, we are contributing to the expansion of the church and the church's agenda. Our energy counts. Our effort counts. Everything that's marketed to you 1,000,000 times a day, they want your focus. They want your energy. They want your attention because it's valuable. So what you focus on expands. So if the church can get your 100% focus, that means it gets your energy moved in their direction of their agenda. So when we're focused on our hurt and we're focused on the trauma of our faith crisis, we are expanding our pain and our resentment and our bitterness and our victimhood. And when we are in that mindset of victimhood, what happens is the nerve cells that fire together in our brain, they wire together. And what happens is we're creating a whole new worldview of being an outcast and a victim. This is why we must get over faith crisis. because instead of being this elitist, special group of Mormon people who have the only true church and the only authority, when we move out of that, now we move into this victimhood where we see the world of everyone's against us. And we start to feel like an outsider, like an outcast. And it happens not just from members of the church, but we start to feel that from every view. And it creates a sentiment within us that when it's almost as if we put on a pair of glasses and that's how we see the world, and we become cynical, and we become it creates a whole different social paradigm. So that's why we have to come out of this. So the nerves that fire together wire together, and we begin creating a new worldview of being a victim and an outcast. And in this state, we are denied access to higher states of consciousness. That means even though we have broke free, we're supposedly awake, we are actually denied access to higher states of consciousness, because now we are victims. Now we are martyrs. Now we are the abused. And now we are the broken ones, the hurt ones. And we're training ourselves to be this outcast. So we have to move on. The church is not the one holding us captive anymore. We are the ones that are holding ourselves captive by not being accountable for our thoughts and where we're focusing our energy. So now that we're free to think how we want and put our focus where we want it, we're choosing to put it on our victimhood, on the injustice and what's not fair. So, as I've been working on this myself and watching where my thoughts have been going, it has really taken its toll on me. So even just yesterday, I had my daughter come over, and she's the one that's getting married, and she and her fiance are over, and she keeps making this comment about how she's not wearing a bra. And I'm like, oh, this is my child who runs around in her panties and underwear her whole life. She just has been so comfortable in her body. I'm kind of jealous because like she has weight problems, and she's just still comfortable in her body. And I'm happy that she's like that. I'm grateful that she's not self-conscious about her body, because she certainly could have picked up on all my junk and it could have been worse. But she's like talking about how she's not wearing her bra. And she got up out of the couch yesterday, and her sister was sitting behind her, and her dress was kind of snugged up, and her sister goes, "Oh my gosh, I just saw everything," just teasing her. I'm like, "What, you're not wearing panties either?" Just teasing her. I'm like, and then I said this, "Wow, what are you going to do when you have to be all wrapped up in garments?" So it just kind of revealed that I still have some bitterness in there, and I could feel what it made her feel like. You know, it was an undertone comment to kind of grab at, you have to wear those ugly Mormon garments, you know, and I don't approve. And so it hung in the air for a minute, long enough to know that nobody appreciated that comment, Mom. And then we all just kind of moved on. So after she left, I thought about it and I processed it, and I was like, hey, where am I with that? Why did I need to say that? And it is that it's still this bitterness that she's going to be giving away a little bit more of herself over time, and it kind of makes me angry. And so I have to let go of that and let her be on her own journey. and allow her to experience giving away a little bit of herself and still be in a place of loving her and allowing that to happen, because I could refuse to let that happen. I can continue making underhanded comments. But what is that going to do? It's going to she's not going to want to come over to my house. It's going to bring up conversations behind my back. It's going to, all kinds of things are going to happen that are actually going to create a rift between me and my child, because I still have this anger that the church is going to pull her away from herself and her own identity and the free spirit that she is. But that's going to be her experience. Where am I better positioned to allow that to happen and to be in a state of love and to observe it and witness it and allow her to experience that, or for me to resist it, to be bitter about it and to have comments fly out of my mouth? I didn't even think about that. It just came right out because that bitterness was still there. And to maybe, what would I think? I was going to make the exact comment that would just switch her mind, and suddenly she's going to say, "Oh, you're right, Mom. I decided not to get married in the temple." I mean, things like that. It's not going to work for me. But when I'm in this place of I'm just going to allow it to happen. I'm going to observe. I'm going to be a place of safety and love for her, as I witness her give away part of herself. That is power. This over here is just interference, and it's fear, and it's trying to control something that I don't have control over, that will actually deny me access to any kind of influence. Does that make sense? So that's why it's important that we have to move on, and we can't be in this place of bitterness and victimhood, because we'll just find ourselves making little jabs here and there. Any comments on that?
It has to be really hard for you. I mean, I envision, I have younger daughters, and I had thoughts in my head about if they decide to go through the temple, and it's really hard. I think you're just trying to protect her, though, in a way. But like you said, she has to have her own journey, and she has to figure it out for herself. So you just have to be there to support her. It's so hard. I'm sure it's so hard. I have a lot of respect for you.
But here's the thing: is what is it I want?
You want a relationship with your daughter.
I do.
A good one. Yeah.
And the thing is, all of us want that. We want love. That is what we are here for. We want love, and we have to create space and safety for those around us. If we're truly waking up, it's our obligation to create safety for everyone around us, to grow at the pace that's comfortable and right for them. And if that is inside the paradigm of the Mormon Church, then so be it. We were once there. And it worked for us until it didn't. It's hard. But do you see the strength and the power that comes when you can allow that? That's called expansion. That's called growth. That's called love that was never available to us or never taught to us inside the church. Go ahead, Jessica.
Sorry. How do you do that at the same time that you are defending your own choices and points of view? Or like, is that just not allowed? You know, I'm going through it with my daughter right now, 13. And I mean, I've confused the heck out of her because I've taught her whole life that, you know, you have to wear this to be modest, and you have to do this, and you have, you know, all these things that now she's bringing up. Like, she had a therapy appointment today, and I came in for part of it, and where she was able to tell me some concerns. And one of them was that I have been wearing clothes that aren't modest and that I bought something on Sunday, or, and it's just, I don't know. I'm torn between, I know that has to develop and grow at her own pace. And at the same time, I just want to be an example of there's so many ways to be good or to connect with God that I haven't shown her until I don't know. It's just a hard space of like defending why I am choosing what I'm choosing without belittling her choices and where she's at, because I don't want to do that. But I don't know. Anyway, and maybe there's just not even space for me to do that right now, to defend my own choice. I don't know. Anyway,
So, if it were me, this is where I would be. And it is having a continual conversation. And that is saying, I see, thanks for sharing that with me. Because I could see that would be very confusing for you. And I apologize that I didn't explain that to you. But I was raised to think that wearing this was immodest or inappropriate, or that it was my responsibility to be able to monitor or help men have good thoughts about, my body, or not have bad thoughts about my body. And since I've studied some things, and I realized this doesn't make sense or ring true to me anymore. And this is the way that I think now. And so this is why I'm dressing this way, is because I don't believe this, and I don't believe that, and I don't believe this anymore. But if that's what you want to believe, and if that's what you choose to believe, I honor you. Because now you are making it safe for her to disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also making it safe for her to ask you why you're doing things that she doesn't agree with. And you're also creating space for that conversation to happen where she understands that. And she's going to have to question every time she's at church. She's going to, that doesn't sound true to me either. When she grows up and she's in those situations, she gets to hear two voices,
Mm-hmm.
not just the one coming from the church and two agreeing parents with the church. She now gets to hear two and choose for herself, knowing that it's safe for her to choose either one. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, if you don't have those conversations, then yeah, it just looks like mom is just being evil. She's drinking alcohol and wearing inappropriate clothes and saying cuss words. She's just blown off the deep end. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of where conversation went today, and I hope it came across that way. But yeah, and I guess I just hadn't, I don't know, I've been afraid to say too much because I don't want to make her feel challenged. So I just kind of keep quiet and do what I do. But I think it's opened my eyes to the fact that we do need to have a lot of more conversations about it, because she is noticing more than I thought she was, and it's bothering her more than I thought it was. And so anyway.
Remember that she's being indoctrinated every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
And that it's your responsibility as a mother. No, I'm not going to say that. Challenge her.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge her. If she's asking questions like that, it's like her soul wants to be challenged. She wants to understand. And just make it safe for her to differ from you. Create an environment where it's safe for her to differ from you. That alone is going to be huge. so that she can choose for herself and know that you're going to love her if she differs from you is huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a big difference.
Can I say something? It just reminds me of, I don't know if you can hear me all right, but with my daughter when she was in high school, and I was very conditioned to be unthinking, and her mind was expanding, and she didn't want anything to do with it. And I was trying to force my thoughts, my opinions on her. And when I stopped doing that, then we started to have a better relationship. So it's kind of in reverse, because I wanted her to have my journey and to be me. And she's like, Mom, I'm my own self. I can make my own choices and decisions. And it's kind of how your daughter, I'm assuming just flipped, so it's hard, but I noticed the more space I gave my kids to be okay with who they were, because all three of my kids left the church before my husband and I, and we're all super close, but we were when I was such a nag about, you should be doing this, you should do that. But I think it's hard not to be in that space sometimes, because you just want the best for her. Yeah, I didn't know that my daughter really wanted the best for me, because she wasn't conditioned like I was. But she let me be in my space for as long as I needed to. So did my older son, who left the church at 18. But I just have to remind myself to let friends and everyone else just get space.
2 minutes.
Anyway.
There's something very powerful about telling your children, even if it's not true. This is what I've told my clients. Even if it's not true, tell your children, I believe in you and I trust in you. You're going to make the right decision.
That much salt. That's enough.
That scares that. Even if it scares you to say that because you've seen them make poor choices, when you give that power over to them, it's almost like that level of responsibility, it causes them to start to make right choices. Because if they believe that their parents don't trust in them to make right choices, they get it in their head that they make poor choices, and then they start making poor choices.
Yeah.
But when you say to your kids, you're going to figure this out. Whatever you choose, I support you. Because I know you're going to make something of yourself. And I believe in you. And I know you know how to choose what's right for you. And I trust you're going to find the right path. And if you say that even after they've just made a really poor choice, it makes them think, this is my life. Mom believes in me.
Even when my son wanted a tattoo, and what will people think, yada, yada, yada. My husband helped my son pick out, he wanted to do a helicopter. My husband's a helicopter pilot. So instead of having him do some dorky or ugly one, he's like, well, if he's going to do a tattoo, I want it to look decent. So he supported him and went with him and helped him to do it, as we go to church and everything. But it turned out so cool. And I think that meant a lot to him. And they all just have found their way, and they're great kids. I mean, we've been really lucky because we've been very liberal thinking. But anyway, I don't know. And then I was going to ask you really quick about a book that I just downloaded, if you've read it, by John Hyatt. What is it? Something. I have all these books about the mind. I'm just fascinated with the mind. So I'm glad you gave me some other ones to read. The Righteous Mind. Have you read that one?
Oh, I've heard of it. I've heard it's really good. I haven't read it though.
Okay, and I just got through reading The Body Keeps the Score, the brain, and it talks about, how it's all connected. How you were saying, because I don't know enough about the chakras, and that was fascinating to me. So anyway, I just let any books you can throw out there to read, or podcasts, or.
Oh my goodness, I have.
Oh my gosh, I'm addicted to that stuff. So.
Yeah, I do have quite a bit.
I'll PM you on that. So anyway.
So I'll have to make a list.
Yeah.
So my encouragement to you is don't give the church any more of your life force energy. Harness it for yourself. Really, truly. And so there's a couple of tricks I wanted to explain to you. It's not just for yourself. There's something even higher. But you can just do it for yourself if you want. Try that on for a while. But there's something even higher. But the more we practice this observing the mind, the more empowered we are to start in creating our world and co-creating our world. But my question in that whole endeavor it's always been, where do I end and where does God begin? Have you ever just wondered that? Where do I end and where does God begin? And what part of the creation am I required to participate in? So this has been a question that's been on my mind for years and years and years. And that's why I have done extensive study on the law of attraction. And, when The Secret came out, I was all about that. And then I was like, okay, there's stuff about this that I'm not on board with. It just seems too hokey pokey. And I need to know the science behind it. I want to know what's legitimate. And, this idea of faith, be believing. And then I studied, here's a book for you. What's his name? Biology of Belief. What is his name? Bruce Lipton. Biology of Belief. So he was an atheist biochemist studying cells until he understood that the cells have a life of their own, and actually what's being imprinted on the cells comes from an outside source, and that is the spirits are imprinting on the cells and telling the cells what to do. His book, The Biology of Belief, is fascinating. So he and Joe Dispenza actually speak together a lot. But this is kind of answering my question about just how much we're participating and creating our world, which to me is the next and final step of faith transition. And that is, now I get to create my own world. I get to use all of my faculties and my agency to start creating my world. So my research with the Healing Questions Guide that I did, it's probably been, 8 years ago, 6-7 years ago, it helped me to understand how our mind contributes to the sickness in the body. And what I did with that is I understood what the beliefs were that create the sickness in the body, but I actually had to start thinking and feeling like somebody with that sickness so that I understood how to get out of it and how to get myself and weave myself out of it, which is what has helped me understand how to weave myself out of faith crisis. Now, granted, it's taken me a lot longer because I've been in a very low state of consciousness because I've been in the stupid victimhood for so long. So it's taken me a while. But through this study, I also understand what's happening in your outer world is actually a reflection of what's going on in your inner world. That if there's chaos going on the outside and you're struggling with your relationships, your finances, with your business, your career, with your children, with all of these things on the outer world, that we try to change the outer world so we can feel better inside, and it's completely reversed. You change what's going on the inside and watch what happens on the landscape of the outside.
Okay, can I tell you, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but a book I listened to on the way home from our trip this weekend is called The Universe Has Your Back.
Yes.
She talked about exactly that. It, like, transform fear into faith. And so
yes.
Before I started listening, I thought, well, is she religious? No, it comes from within. So we're going to get the same experiences. It's how we react to them and handle them and take them in and all of that. And it just, that's just, I've only listened to the first 2 chapters, but just what you said right there was what she was talking about. She had to learn to do that, and she was sick, and she had to learn to how to get through this illness to where she could get healthy again.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway,
And she was addicted to drugs and everything for
yes,
a while too. Yeah.
right. I read the
Yeah, I know her story.
Yeah.
She's a funny author.
Yeah.
But there's another author and master that taught these things, and it was Jesus. And these are the principles that he was trying to teach us, that have been twisted into religion of you have to do this or you don't qualify for the kingdom in the next life. And it's just been twisted so awful to where we can't even figure out that these are principles that he was trying to teach us to be able to figure out in this life. Judge not lest you be judged. It's the I am that I just explained to you. I am that I am, and neutralizes all of that. But before my faith crisis, I manifested things and brought them into my world, like cars and houses and clients and trips and speaking engagements, sums of money, dreams that I had, premonitions. I was having premonitions. There were even times I feel like I was channeling information when I would ask questions and information would just flow. And when I had my faith crisis, it was almost as if all of that just shut off. And I was like, it shut down my ability to do any of that or even believe that it was real. And it was because I was afraid. I was afraid to believe in spirit guides. I was afraid that I wasn't sure who I was praying to anymore. I thought that the reason God answered my prayers was because of Mormonism, that I was Mormon, and that's what qualified me for all these things. I mean, that's what we're kind of told in church, even though I know everybody outside the church is having these experiences, and I was actually learning them from people who weren't Mormons, and they were working. But for some reason, when I had my faith crisis, I kind of thought, I shouldn't. It just wasn't working for me anymore because I literally had a faith crisis. My belief system was shot. And my focus, again, was on the pain and the complexity of the faith crisis. And again, wanting to know how to heal it, wanting to know how to unravel it. And that brought me down into this lower level of thinking and needing to know everything about faith crisis and the back roads and the byways and the tunnels and the deep, dark secrets. Just sent me into such a tailspin that I couldn't access this other world of creation. And we are creators. We are born to create. And we are creating whether we know it or not. We are participating in all of these things, whether we know it or not. We're just doing it unintentionally. So now, the story about my house and how I got into the house that I'm in. So I knew that June 30th was the day that we needed to be out. And I looked at my budget, and it's going to be sufficiently lower because now I'm going to be on my own. And so I just decided, well, $1,300 a month is what I want to put aside for rent. And I want something smaller because I don't want to manage anything bigger than 1,300 square feet. Let's just make it easy. And I had a vision of kind of what I want. I don't want to do maintenance in the yard. I would like a safe place. My son's going to be living with me, and he has a work truck. And so the CC&Rs have to allow for a work truck to park there. I kind of want a pool, but I don't want to have to take care of it. So that area needs to have a pool. And so I just kind of put down what I wanted, literally what I wanted. And then I started looking at the market. 3 weeks out, thinking, no problem. There's nothing on the market. This market is crazy, crazy, crazy right now. Nothing out there. I was started to panic. So I looked at 4 or 5 houses going, this is disgusting. Ew, yuck. Starting to realize that if I want anything decent, I was going to be spending between $1,500 and $1,700. And it wasn't going to be anything near 1,300 or 1,400 square feet. It was going to be more like 1,000 and more like an apartment. And I was going to have people above me and people next to me. And I was going, oh, geez, this is not what I wanted at all. What am I going to do with 30 years of raising 5 children? How am I going to fit that into 1,100 square feet without a garage? I don't know what the heck is going to happen. I'm starting to panic. Well, I see this one property and I go over and I look at it and I open the door and it has a tone to it. It hums. And I walked in 1 step into it and I knew this was the house. And I had a confirmation. It was just a quiet, solid. I remember what it felt like to have those confirmations, quiet, solid. This is your house. It's a split level. You walk in and you go 2 different directions. Master bedroom, the rest of the house, the other, yeah, this is the place, yes. So I looked at it. It was it had been completely redone, brand new paint, brand new flooring. The backyard is completely done. It's a tiny little perfect backyard with a little porch. There were work trucks parked, within different areas of the neighborhood. And there was a pool with a jacuzzi within the neighborhood, which was a community pool. And I was like, oh, this is the place. I totally want this. 1,300 square feet, $1,300 a month. I was like, yes, with a garage. It's perfect. Gated community. Yes, this is what I want. So I put in my application and realizing my income was probably not going to cut it. But said, what the heck? I felt so good about it. I'm gonna go ahead and apply. Well, Monday, I get a call back. The Monday, I'm supposed to be out on Friday. This is Monday. And they said, get this, they asked for photo ID and I gave them a picture. I gave them a selfie. I don't know what I was thinking. I gave them a selfie. So I typed it back and said, I know this is ridiculous, but here's my driver's license. And she started laughing and it made a connection. And I said, thanks for sharing this embarrassing moment with me and stuff like that. And anyways, I said, this is my deal. I have to be out by Friday. And so I need to know whether I'm able to get in. She goes, well, honey, there's been 13 applications on this property. And so we'll let you know as soon as we can. And I went, oh, well, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I sat down and I meditated and I got still and did my meditation. And then I asked the question, why, as I was coming out of meditation, what do I need to do to find a house? And the answer was nothing. It's already taken care of. And then I panicked again. I just started panicking. I was like, no, that can't be. There's no way. And I went everywhere and I put money down on 2 different properties and I'm not even kidding, ready to move into an apartment next to my daughter, 1,000 square feet, $1,520 a month. It was just a disaster. I was such a mess. And I went to go check my email to see if that woman had sent me back some correspondence. And there was a letter saying, congratulations, your application has been accepted for this property. And I was like, what? You're kidding me. And so I called them, and within less than 24 hours, we had the keys to this house. I was like, it's all fixed. It's all better. It's everything that I had learned, I'd put into practice. I knew it. I felt it. I heard it. And I had put it all, but I had still had all that doubt, still just kind of residual from my faith crisis stuff. But I got to watch it still go into manifestation, even with all my background noise going and doing all the dumb stuff. And so that's how I got into this house. And it's so perfect. I absolutely love it. It couldn't even be better. But this is why you must know what you want. Yes, it's the house I'm sitting in now. It doesn't have curtains yet. But this is why you must know what it is you want now. Because this is how the universe, the God within, knows what I want to create. It knows that I want to be an agent for helping people move into a place of power and direction and intuition and accessing their own spiritual gifts so that they can be able to make impact on the world for good, for love, for compassion, for moving forward in the direction of their dreams, or even knowing what their dreams are. Because my experience is, as LDS women coming out of faith crisis, have no clue what it is they want to do or be when they grow up. And the problem is they're grown-ups. So the thing with these tools are, they work for everyone. You don't have to be Christian, and you don't have to be, Buddhist, and you don't have to. They worked for Hitler. He thought about it, he focused on it, and he did it. And it was terrible and destructive. And it was awful. And it was for evil. But when you incorporate them for good, there's a power that's working on your behalf that will teach you and will guide you. And the thing that's been happening with my book right now, I can't even explain to you what windows have been opening up, because the heavens have declared that this must stop. And we must heal our families, and we must heal ourselves first in order to move on and to create a healthier world for our children. And we can't do it out of being angry, and we can't do it out of being bitter, and we can't do it out of being victims. We have to heal into a higher place of love and acceptance and allowance. But the more powerful that we become, and I'm saying powerful and literally not forceful, but holding a state of power in a state of compassion and allowing, then we create space for that to heal. And we develop the language and we develop the skills for that to happen. And that, when I agreed to do that, the heavens want to work in my behalf. And I know that when you agree to what it is in your heart that you want to accomplish, the heavens are going to work in your behalf to accomplish that. That everything in your life up until this point has prepared you and qualified you for something bigger than you can even imagine. And that your journey to agree to take this course with me was not an accident. That I fumbled around trying to get this course together because I knew it was what I was supposed to do. And I'm just doing it the best that I know how at the time until I could see a clear vision. But I'm asking you now, what is it that you want? Because what you want matters. And it's already been etched on your heart. And you have to give it permission to grow. And if you can see it and feel it and taste it and notice all the programmed beliefs that get into your way, you're going to be able to have it. Because God wants you to have it. God needs you to have it. There's some place about you, some place and time about you that agreed to experience this. And so you're going to find a way through it. Any thoughts on that? Yeah. Independence. The one thing that's so important about that independence is the forgiveness. Because we have been liberated. We are free. We have been given the wings and they're flapping. But if we haven't fully forgiven, the stones are wrapped around our feet and we will never get launched. When we forgive, those stones fall from our feet and we literally are able to fly. And so that being said, I hate to just let you guys go. And so I'm like, so what am I supposed to do from here? Why am I connected to these amazing women? Why have they agreed to take these courses? And what I will tell you is, because you have taken this course, it has forced me to create something, and it's not complete by any means. I now see clearly what needs to happen in every week for the 8 weeks to make sure that by the end of 8 weeks that that person is fully knows how to use all of their skills, which I don't feel was completely integrated with all of you. You're great sports, but I don't feel like it was sufficiently done. I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so I now know, as we've gone through the course, how to implement each of those weeks so that someone going through the course can go through really smoothly and get all the tools that they need to be able to come out ready to step into a whole different life and leave that trauma behind. And that to me is what I wanted to create it. And I couldn't have done it without you, without the pressure of knowing, okay, I've got a Monday night call. Okay, these women are waiting for my audio. I've got to get this out here. And I also knowing that I have a book, and all of this pressure on me has made it squeeze out of me. And I'm so grateful for it. But what I wanted to do is offer you, if you are interested in a 3-month program, and I'm only doing it for 3 months. It's just a 3-month continuation program. And what it is a continued 1-hour live group call, and it will be just the group that's still in here. So it will be all of us that are still in this group. It's a 1-hour live group coaching. It will be probably 1 to 3 audios a week on the principles that I'm talking about. But I will also want you to take the Enneagram so that you understand how you're situated in the world. And the Enneagram is your personality test, so that you kind of understand how you've ordered yourself. I don't know if that makes sense, or if we talked much about the Enneagram. But 1 to 3 audios a week, and also supplements. So if I see an awesome audio that Joe Dispenza has, then I'm going to put it on the supplements so that you have things to watch during the week and listen to during the week. And also, if you have other things that you've listened to, like, is it a Bernadette, or who is it that's done the Universe Has Got Your Back, or Soul Sunday with Oprah, or whatever, that we can post all those things on the Facebook things, so that we have a community where we're constantly feeding each other more information that we can study and learn together. But it will also be 1 60-minute call, one-on-one, every 2 weeks. So that'd be twice a month. And you will also be able to continue on this peculiar transition group. So that means people who I have coming in the group, that you can listen in on the group coaching and participate on in the program, because There's more that I'm going to be implementing on the program. It's going to be expanded out so you can use all the materials on that too. So you'll have access to that and also be on that Facebook interaction with that and the conference calls. And so it'll be all of those things integrated together, plus the live group coaching and the new Facebook group with just us. So all of that. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm doing an extended course after they do the Peculiar Transition course. That course is going to be a $6,000 course. But I have to have it in place before they end. And I need people to be pushing me. And I choose you. So I'm offering it to you at a ridiculous price of 10% of that. And that is only $600 for the 3 months. So it ends up right now for a 1 hour session with me is $240. So you get 2 1-hour sessions with me a month, plus all of the coaching and all of that. So it's kind of like a ridiculous price, but I wanted it to be something that would be almost like a no-brainer because I need you really bad. But to do it for free is not going to be an equal balance because there has to be some kind of energetic exchange to be able to make it worth your while and your effort. So if you are interested in joining and moving on with that, we're going to start on Tuesdays, beginning this Tuesday, not tomorrow, but the next Tuesday. And we are going to do that for 3 months. And I would love to have every one of you join me. And the goal is to help you keep your focus, to help you hone your gifts, to help you refine your tools, and to help you know what it is that you want to move into, to find your mission, to find what it is your next step is, to help hold you accountable, to help you heal your relationships if that's what you need to work on, to help you in your career or in your business, or even if you're writing a book, because all these things, I have training in marketing, I have training in writing, I have training in all of these things that if those are the things that you need help with, I can coach those things. So that is my offer to you. Do you have any questions for me?
I do one-on-one. No, I'm just I love it. That's awesome. You've been so helpful. Even though I can see I'm towards the end of my journey, it never really ends, I don't think.
Right.
Keep growing. And I have a house story I want to tell you. I don't have to tell it in the group, but it's kind of similar to yours. And it was when we bought this house a couple of years ago. And I listened to my voice for the first time because I wasn't used to that. And I put my foot down. It was just really kind of a spiritual experience. It was really wild. And my husband, he looks at it that way now too, because just to give you now I cut out, sorry. Why do I do that? Can you hear me? Okay, hold on. I'll get to that. Okay, all right. But we have been house hunting, and kind of like the market now, it was slim pickings, you know. The houses were gone within days or within weeks. And so you had to make a decision, or you just had to get something to do. And so I had something in mind because we were moving from a beautiful home and downsizing. And I saw a house that I just fell in love with. It was like my house on a smaller scale. Loved it. And so I put this on the list. We go and look at these 13 or a bunch of houses on this Saturday. And the next day I get a text from my son, who has really good taste and knows he's just really good in, you know, that kind of stuff. He says, Mom, did you go see this house? I found this house. I said, oh, that was on my list. I don't know why we didn't see it. And then I talked to my husband. He goes, oh yeah, I crossed that off. I'm like, why did you cross it off? He says, I didn't like the area. It was a different, he thought it was like right up against the mountain, which wasn't as nice of an area. Like ours are newer homes, are 10 years old. They were older homes. And he just assumed, well, he just made the decision. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I called my friend who's a realtor who went and saw it that night. And the one thing he didn't like is it didn't have the big property in the RV parking. It had a 3-car garage. But I'm like, I don't care. We're getting older. We're going to get rid of that stuff. So he's like, okay, we'll think about it. We'll sleep on it. I'm like, no, we have to offer tonight. It's been on the market 2 weeks. And there's 2 offers that came in behind us, but they accepted ours first.
Oh, that's
we did it
awesome.
that night. But there was 2 written offers the next day. So, you know, sometimes
That's awesome.
and there's other things. My husband's name's Pete. He's a Utah fan. There was a picture of her husband who died of cancer. His name was Pete. He played for the University of Utah. We became really good friends with his wife. Anyway, it just goes on and on, that story, because we made a really good connection. But it's because I listened to the inside. And I did, yeah. And anyway, that's what I've learned. Like your experience, but it's scary. Even though yours worked out, and you're like, you know, meditating and all that stuff. But I just felt that we had to do it. And he's like, I am so glad we did. He's best friends with the neighbors here. It's
Oh, that's great.
wonderful area. But yeah, it's just anyway, we were lucky. So I think it gets better as we learn to live. That's what I want to continue doing, is learning how.
Well, that's the thing that I was teaching before I had my faith crisis, and I have I do the vision board a whole different way.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So,
but the thing is they're actually working with scientific understanding of the frequencies, and it's not a magical thing. It's understanding frequency, the brain, how you imprint upon the holographic universe, and understanding your heart math. And I mean, there's so many different things that go into play that
with your everything in your life, with your mind, with everything.
It's even with relationships, and that's the point, the part about healing with faith crisis is there is so much broken in relationships. That faith crisis can heal, but it actually becomes the most painful part of a faith crisis is the relationships.
The worst thing I've ever been through. Because
it's looking right at your face. I mean, faith crisis will definitely reveal a marriage. It reveals relationships with your children. It reveals everything. I mean, you cannot hide a relationship behind a faith crisis. And so you are basically forced to learn skills, emotional skills, communication skills, all kinds of skills that were never presented to us while we were in the church because we didn't need them. We just controlled everybody by forcing obedience and obligation. So we didn't have to learn relationship skills.
I knew what I was thinking in my head. So I always thought, I know what my husband's thinking. You know, anyway, but I didn't really, because he wasn't brought up in the church. So he didn't have a lot of baggage, a lot of that indoctrination that I did as a kid. Yeah, so anyway, I'm excited.
Well, does anybody have any questions I can answer for you?
I was just going to ask you if you could post more information or the information about the group on our page. Yeah.
See ya, Gina. I can't see your whole thing.
What time on Tuesdays will the class be? Live?
The Tuesday class will be at 5 also.
For an hour.